Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Gedling Borough Council Planning meeting. I'm Councillor Paul Wilkinson, chairing the meeting in the absence of Councillor Roy Allen, who is unfortunately absent this evening. Please note that this meeting will be live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel and via the website. And the Council is the data controller under the Data Protection Act. Data collected during this webcast will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policy. More information about how your personal data is collected and used, please view our privacy notice, and the link is in the agenda. If I could just introduce those on the top table here. So at the far end we have Nigel Bryan, Planning Manager, Claire Turton, Principal Planning Officer, John Krychak, Assistant Director for Development. Then we have Helena Stanilou and Natalie Ozzie from the legal team, and Kate Goodall from the Democratic Services Department. If I could take apologies for absence and substitutions. Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Yes, thank you. I mean, you've already announced apologies from Councillor Roy Allen, also Councillor Graham Pope. Substituting are myself and Councillor Marge Palin. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Smith?
All present and correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I can see Councillor Elwood and Councillor Whiting are both here. I presume there's been no other apologies? No. Thank you. Okay. We can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of November 2024. I will propose these. Do we have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Can I see all those in favour, please? Okay. Any against? And any abstentions? Thank you. I think it's people not present. Okay. Next, we have the Planning Committee protocol, which I'm sure everybody is familiar with. Any declarations of interest? Councillor Nayuk?
Yes, thank you, Chair. For item 4, I believe I have an interest in this matter and I will not participate in the discussion or vote, so I will leave the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rachel Ellis?
Thank you. For item 9, I believe I have a non-pecuniary interest.
Applications. Okay, so if we can move on to application 2024 stroke 0526, Friar Tuck, Gedling Road, Arnold. We have speakers. We have two speakers. We have Carol Ball, who's a local resident objector, and Matthew Surgenson from McCarthy and Stone, who's the applicant. So, Carol, if you would like to make your presentation first. You have 3 minutes, and I'm afraid we will stop you at those 3 minutes.
Good evening. My objection is the Friar Tuck should be retained as a historic building. It should not be demolished. It is part of Arnold's history, despite only being built in the last century. This was a brilliant friendly family pub, one that I visited weekly and felt safe visiting. I'll visiting alone or with family and friends. There are not many pubs in Arnold where I would feel that safe. In fact, there's no other pub in Arnold that I would feel safe to go on my own. The building should continue to exist as a pub, restaurant, or community centre. I think the proposed building is too high at 3 stories. It will just be another ugly, bland, modern building. I have seen the artist impression of both the Daybrook and the Friar Tuck. And that's literally all I have to say, because I'm not allowed to say anything else under the law. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. And Matthew Surgenson from McCarthy and Stone, the applicant. If you'd like to approach the rostrum. And again, you have 3 minutes, and we will stop you at the end of those 3 minutes. So whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, good evening, Chair, members. May I introduce myself, Matthew Surgenson, a Development Director at McCarthy and Stone. I also want to thank the officers at Gedling Borough Council, with whom we've enjoyed proactive and positive dialogue, resolving issues, and are pleased to have been able to secure a positive recommendation for your consideration this evening, with support from all statutory consultees. Our planning application is for the redevelopment of the former Friar Tuck site in Arnold, with proposals for 51 retirement living apartments and a communal lounge, residence garden and car parking. The site offers excellent access to local amenities within the vicinity of our proposals, which is a key consideration when assessing sites. And if consented, we expect the future residents of the site will add to the vibrancy of the local area. These proposals follow on from our scheme in Daybrook, which this committee supported last year, with construction underway. We've had significant levels of customer interest for the Daybrook scheme, with customers excited about the opportunities that the proposals bring. We're also forecasting a similar level of interest in this site, if consented. The proposals on a brownfield site are purpose designed for our customers, supporting these needs, offering the opportunity to right-size to modern and energy-efficient homes and freeing up family housing. Delivery of this scheme will support Gedling in meeting the housing need for older people within the borough. The scheme includes 22 car parking spaces, 2 more than Daybrook. This is supported by your highways and planning officers. This provision is based on our knowledge and experience at other sites for this particular McCarthy Stone product, whereby a lower proportion of our residents have a car. The sustainability of the site and access to nearby services and facilities also supports this. The design of the building ensures a modern development which respects local character of the area. The construction will utilise modern methods of construction to provide a building envelope that exceeds building regulation requirements. Turning to Section 106 contributions, the proposal has been independently viability tested and is able to support a contribution of £70,000. This will go towards travel plan monitoring, bus stop improvements, local NHS services and affordable housing. I thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and we ask that members support the officer's recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nigel, I believe you're introducing this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the application is for the demolition of the public house, the Friar Tuck, that sits on the plot currently, and is proposed to replace it with a 51 retirement apartment, and this just shows the location in the context. And here is the aerial view. I'm sure most of you recognise some of the pictures, and as you can see, the building is currently boarded up. In terms of the occupation, it is proposed to be conditioned that at least one of the residents must be over 60, so it would be age specific. In terms of the principle of development, there's a need to consider whether or not the loss of the public house is acceptable and whether it complies with policy LPD 56. In this respect, you can see here the relationship between the site in this location and the town centre. There are a number of other public houses, including Sashes, Dexters and Greyhounds, so we think there's adequate alternative provision that would support the removal of the public house that's in situ currently. In terms of the actual built form, it's supposed to be an L-shaped type building. You can see the floor plans here. This is the ground floor, and these are the elevations. It would be a 3-storey building. It would be flat roofed, and we did try to push to get more of a mansard roof, but the applicants have asked it be determined as submitted. And as you can see, they've changed some of the materials at this top level to give the appearance of a mansard roof if it doesn't quite have the slope on the top you would typically associate with it. In terms of the context, you can see here just some of the heights of surrounding buildings and the proposed structure, which would be smaller than some and then taller than others depending on the topography of the site. And then in terms of residential amenity, there's not proposed to be any significant overlooking or overbearing impacts given it's on a corner plot and its relationship with neighbouring properties, and the park is obviously in this location here. In terms of the parking provision, there would be 22 spaces that would be provided for the 51 apartments. The SPD would typically look to try to encourage 40 spaces, but given that it would be the age restricted, it'll be within 50 metres of the town centre, and there's also a bus stop immediately outside of the building, just in this location here. We feel that it is a location where a reduced level of parking provision would be acceptable. And just for comparison, I think the previous speaker mentioned the Daybrook Laundry. That site was for 51 units and was to provide 20 spaces. Another recent one that's been before the committee was one at Ernhale Lodge, which was proposed to have 19 dwellings and 13 spaces. That one was refused. And then just for reference as well, the Baptist Church that members are probably aware of, that was for 23 units and provided 0 parking. But for this particular one, at officer level, we're content that the parking provision is acceptable. In terms of the contributions that are sought, typically we would look to provide 20% affordable primary care trust, travel plan monitoring, parks and bus stop contributions. As has been suggested earlier, the viability assessment has been independently assessed, and it's been concluded that the site could return £70,000 towards the contributions, and this would get the full contribution towards the PCT, travel monitoring, the bus stop provision. It would also return £13,000 towards affordable housing, but there would be no contribution towards the parks. But given its location to the adjacent public open space, this is considered to be acceptable. Weighing things in the round at officer level, we're minded to support the application as outlined on pages 42 to 50 of the committee report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nigel. I will move this item for the purposes of debate. Do we have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor David Ellis. Who would like to open the debate, please? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to the applicant for bringing this forward. Great to see a brownfield site being brought into use, and hopefully add a bit more footfall into Arnold Town Centre, which is a bonus. Just really supportive of it, really. Just a question about parking. So the Highways comment says that for something of this type of build, which you attract more elderly people who won't have cars, that you would have 0.5 per apartment rather than 1. That equates to about 25.5, and it only comes with 22. Fine, let's not fall out over a few spaces, but could you just explain where visitors are supposed to park, or are they going to use the public car park where the play park is around the corner? I'm just conscious about visitor parking, really.
In terms of the visitor parking, if there's spaces within the actual site, they would use that, but alternatively, yes, they would have to use the public car park that's in close proximity just in this location around here.
Anybody else? No, in that case, the recommendation on page 42 is to grant planning permission subject to the owner entering into a planning obligation secured through a Section 106 legal agreement with the Borough Council as the local planning authority and the County Council to secure an affordable housing contribution, a contribution towards bus stop infrastructure and travel plan monitoring, a healthcare contribution and a local labour agreement, and the conditions listed for the reasons set out in the report. Can I see all those in favour, please? I think that's unanimous. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. That application has been passed. Okay. We're just going to get Councillor Nayuk back into the chamber. Thank you. If we can move on to the next item, item 5, application number 2024/0708, Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Headquarters, Bestwood Lodge Drive, Bestwood. Again, we have a speaker. This time it's Martin Preston, the Chief Executive Officer of Delamere Health, who is the applicant. So, if you'd like to come to the lectern. And as with the previous speakers, you have 3 minutes whenever you're ready.
Good evening. I'd like to talk briefly about Delamere Health to give members of the committee a sense of our history, our purpose, and what we hope to offer here in Nottingham, assuming the proposed development is approved today. Delamere is an organisation with a very clear purpose. We exist to provide exemplary care in first-class facilities and seek to prove that anyone can recover with the right help. We currently operate the UK's only purpose-built addiction treatment clinic in Cheshire. Guests pay privately to come and stay with us when an aspect of their life is overwhelming all else. It might be their relationship with alcohol, drugs, work, or their mental health that they need support with. We provide 24-hour nursing care and an innovative and holistic approach to therapy. Since opening Delamere in Cheshire in March 2020, we're very proud to have helped over 1,000 guests recover. We're a team of 50 colleagues who are passionate about helping people recover from the illness of addiction. And we've come a long way since we opened our doors 5 years ago, when we had some assumptions, namely that a purpose-built environment in a tranquil setting would resonate with those willing to pay privately for residential addiction treatment, and that a more holistic, trauma-informed approach would resonate and prove to be more effective than a traditional approach. 5 years on, we feel we have proven our proposition. Guest testimonial is outstanding. We're expanding our Cheshire site to meet demand, and we've become a thought leader in the sector. The opportunity ahead of Delamere is remarkable. Becoming a multi-site operator is something we've been aspiring to for some time. Identifying a location and a site on which to develop our second clinic is something we've worked hard at for several years. At Bestwood, we have all the requirements we need: a generous site on a tranquil private setting, sufficient footprint of existing buildings, and the proposed scheme showcases the quality of design and landscapes. The environment we offer at Delamere really matters. It needs to be conducive to the nature of the work and healing that guests undertake. And as an affluent audience accessing a premium service, our guests have high standards in terms of amenities, design, fit and finish. We are excited to be bringing what we consider to be an asset to the borough, one that will provide significant employment opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Claire, if you'd like to introduce this item to the committee, please.
So first of all, there is an update on this application. Members will note that section 16 of the committee report suggests a number of conditions to be attached to the grant of any planning permission. Members should note that the wording of conditions 5, 15, 20, 27, 30 and 32 should be altered from no development shall be commenced until certain further details depend on the condition number are submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority to no development other than demolition and remediation shall be commenced until certain further details are submitted. An additional condition is recommended to secure a construction ecological management plan at the request of the Council's ecological officer. There has also been a late consultation response received by the Environment Agency, who has requested that conditions be attached to the grant of any planning permission, not regarding flooding, but regarding land contamination. I see no reason to disagree with the professional advice of the Environment Agency and recommend such conditions be attached should planning permission be granted. The site relates to the former Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue headquarters, which has been vacant since 2022. There are a number of 2- and 3-storey buildings on the site, as well as hard surfacing. To the west of the site lies Bestwood Country Park, parts of which are defined in the Gedling local plan as protected open space and a local wildlife site. To the north of the site are large residential properties in large plots of land. To the south of the site lies the Bestwood Lodge former stable block, which is now converted into residential properties, and also Bestwood Lodge Hotel. The land to the southeast of the site is also within control of the applicant, but does not form part of the application site. This is an area of private open space that was previously used as sports pitches by the Fire HQ. There are a number of designated and non-designated heritage assets in the vicinity of the site, and these are set out in paragraph 1.4 of the committee report. The site is accessed from a privately maintained road, which is part of Bestwood Lodge Drive. The private access road currently provides access to the Fire HQ, Bestwood Lodge Hotel, Bestwood Country Park, and several other residential properties. And the site is located within the Greenbelt. There are a large number of mature trees screening the western, northern, and eastern boundaries. Trees to the north and west are protected by a Woodland Tree Preservation Order, or TPO. And these are the photos of the existing buildings on site. And these are the existing plans as well. This is a full planning application to demolish the existing buildings on site and develop a new private residential therapy and treatment centre together with associated infrastructure and landscaping. Guests at the clinic are self-referred when any aspect of their life becomes overwhelming. This may be their relationship with alcohol, drugs, work, or their mental health. Guests typically stay for 28 days and receive both clinical and therapeutic services. The proposed clinic will accommodate 32 en-suite residential bedrooms with supporting therapy and ancillary spaces within a single built form. The ancillary spaces include administration offices, single and group therapy rooms, social and dining spaces, as well as nursing provision. The proposed use would be served by 52 car parking spaces and bicycle storage. Access is provided using the existing site access point via Bestwood Lodge Drive, and some minor works to provide improvements to Bestwood Lodge Drive are included within the application proposals. And these are the proposed plans and a proposed visual of what the site might look like. The other thing to note is that there was a previous outline planning application at the site for 32 dwellings, and this application was presented to the Planning Committee in September 2022, where it was resolved to grant planning permission subject to the signing of a legal agreement seeking developer contributions. However, the legal agreement has never been signed and the application still remains pending consideration. This application is an alternative to that one. It is also important to note that the Parish Council are generally supportive of their application, with their comments set out in paragraph 4.1 of the committee report. Neighbouring properties were consulted and 4 letters have been received from neighbouring occupiers. 2 letters are in support of the scheme and 2 letters overall support the scheme but raise some concerns, and these are set out in paragraph 4.14 of the committee report and addressed throughout the body of the report. Turning now to the assessment of the application, the use of the building will fall within a C2 planning use class, which covers residential institutions, and therefore policy LPD 39 applies. Policy LPD 39 allows for specialist accommodation, provided that certain criteria can be met. The proposal is considered to comply with the required criteria of LPD 39, in that it has good access to nearby open space and there are no known other such uses in the area, and as such there wouldn't be an over-concentration of similar uses. With regards to Greenbelt issues, the MPPF sets out at paragraph 154 that development in the Greenbelt is inappropriate unless certain exceptions apply, one of which is Part G, which allows for the partial or complete redevelopment of previously developed land which would not cause substantial harm to the openness of the greenbelt. The site is previously developed land, and the proposal would involve the redevelopment of the site, and as such, the principle of the development is considered to accord with paragraph 154G of the NPPF, subject to it not causing substantial harm to the openness of the greenbelt. Now, assessing the impact on the openness of the greenbelt, the proposed built development is less than the existing built development on site in terms of floor space, footprint, volume, height, and total hard standing, and these figures are shown in paragraph 7.2 of the committee report. In addition, the proposal is much more compact form of development compared to the existing building. This current proposal represents a 63% reduction in the width of the existing built area and a 17% reduction in the depth of the existing built area. Works to the full length of the existing private driveway serving the site are proposed, including pedestrian footways, speed humps and signage, but due to the amount and nature of these physical works, they're not considered to cause harm to the openness of the greenbelt. With regards to the design and appearance of the proposal and its impact on heritage assets, it's important to note that there are a number of heritage assets close to the site, and these are set out in paragraph 8.2 of the committee report. The existing buildings on site date to the mid-20th century and are of no architectural or historic interest, and as such, there is not considered to be any harm that would arise from their demolition. The linear and gabled form of the proposed new buildings arranged around a series of courtyards emulates a courtyard-style layout of the existing stable block, and the general formality of layout, with an emphasis on green landscaping, also reflects the overall character of the historic site. The materials are a good mixture of red clay bricks and tiles, which is a strong local building material. It is anticipated that the degree of separation of Bestwood Lodge Hotel from the proposal site, along with the intervening green screening and limited height of the proposed buildings, will retain the current visual separation of the two sites. A full tree survey has been submitted in support of the application, and due to the amount of trees protected by a TPO, as well as other good quality trees that are proposed to remain, it is important that every effort is taken to ensure their safe long-term retention. If planning permission is granted, a condition should be attached ensuring all trees and hedges that are proposed to be retained are protected in accordance with the submitted tree survey. The indicative proposed landscaping plan shows a suitable level of tree planting to offset the loss of canopy due to development, and this can be controlled through a planning condition should permission be granted. With regard to the impact of the proposal on neighbouring amenity, the separation distances of the site to neighbouring properties should be noted, and these are set out in section 9 of the committee report. With regards to issues of noise and disturbance, the proposal would host 32 residents and 40 full-time equivalent members of staff. The proposal is to provide a tranquil retreat for the residents and as such should not cause unacceptable issues of noise and disturbance. Turning now to highway matters, the site is accessed via a private driveway, which currently provides access to the former Fire HQ, Bestwood Lodge Hotel, Bestwood Lodge Stables, other residential properties and Bestwood Country Park. The proposed access point to the site itself is to remain as existing, and as part of the current planning application, it is proposed to provide some improvements to the private driveway. These works are the same as those proposed for the previous planning application for residential development at the site, and this includes pedestrian footways, speed humps, signage, and the Highway Authority has raised no objection to the proposed works to the private driveway. The proposed use would be supported by 30 car parking spaces to the rear of the site, with further overflow for 22 cars if required, as well as bicycle storage. Neither Gedling Borough Council's parking provision, SPD, or Nottinghamshire County Council's Highway Design Guide set out parking standards for a private residential therapy centre. However, the Highway Authority has assessed the proposed parking provision and has confirmed that this is acceptable. Turning now to issues of flood risk and drainage, the site is located within Flood Zone 1 and is at a low risk of flooding. The Flood Risk Authority raised no objection to the proposal, subject to a condition regarding a detailed surface water drainage scheme. With regards to ecology, an ecological impact assessment has been submitted, and the Council's Ecology Officer has assessed the report and raised no objection. This is subject to recommendations within the report being secured by way of planning conditions, such as wildlife-friendly lighting, both during and post-development. Biodiversity net gain, or BNG, is mandatory for this proposal, and this means that developers must deliver a BNG of 10%. This results in a development with more or better quality natural habitat than there was before the development. And the applicant has indicated that some BNG will be delivered on site, with the remaining units to be delivered on land adjacent to the site, which was previously the private playing field associated with the fire HQ. The Highway Authority has requested a travel plan monitoring fee, which the applicant has agreed to pay, and this will be secured through a legal agreement, but the proposal does not meet the requirements for any other planning contributions. To conclude, the development is consistent with local and national planning policies, and it is recommended that planning permission be granted, subject to the signing of a legal agreement and the conditions set out in section 16 of the committee report.
Thank you, Claire. I will move this item for the purposes of debate. To have a seconder, please. Councillor Pearson, thank you. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Thank you, Chair. As this building falls in my ward, I'm watching it with interest. I think it's a good thing for the site to be developed. It's been vacant for a while since the Fire Authority moved out. I also welcome the fact that it is going to provide much needed employment opportunities in the area. And I also note that there is going to be a detailed drainage assessment, which I hope will meet the concerns of residents with regard to the possibility of surface water flooding. But that's all I wish to say on the matter at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? No. In that case, we can move to the vote. The recommendation is on page 70 of your reports, and it is to grant planning permission subject to the signing of a legal agreement with the Borough Council as the local planning authority and the County Council to secure travel plan monitoring and a local labour agreement with the conditions as outlined in your report and as amended as per Claire's description at the start of her introduction. Can I see all those in favour, please? Once again, that looks as though it's unanimous. Thank you very much. That application has been passed. Okay, if we can move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is Levers Court, Duro Drive, Arnold. Nigel is going to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Levers Court is a boarded up care home, residential care home. They're looking to, in effect, redevelop the site in its entirety, and they're proposed to erect a 3-storey block of flats comprising 22 one-bed units, which would be for supported living for young people. There would also be 8 what you might consider more conventional kind of family housing. So you can see here, where's the red dot? Can't see it. Yeah, sorry, here's the flats in this location, and these are the semi-detached properties, and there will be 6 2-bed properties and 2 3-bed properties. It's all proposed to be under the control of a housing association, so the entire scheme will be 100% affordable. This is the floor plans for the flats. As you can see, they'll all be 1 bed, and they've got some staff accommodation as well as a communal hub for the occupiers. And these are the first and second floor plans, which in effect are replicated. And these are the aerial views of the flats. And whilst it may look relatively large, there is a section in a minute. You'll see that because of the change in levels, it would only appear as a 2-storey building because of the change in levels through the site. So whilst it may appear large in this aspect, within the context of the site, it's considered to be appropriate. And here you can see that how the change in levels are absorbed. So whilst it is 3-storey here, through the change in levels, it's obviously of a similar scale to the dwellings to the immediate north. And you'll also note here, in terms of the impact on residential amenity, the distances between the window to windows, are large at 24 metres, 23 and 30. So there's not considered to be any overriding concern in respect of the impacts on residential amenity, and the impact on the character of the area is also considered to be acceptable. In terms of parking provision, there will be 27 spaces in total. This will equate for 16 for the 8 houses, and there would be 8 for the flats and 3 for the visitors. But given the flats proposed to be one bed, and supported living is considered at that lower threshold, is acceptable, and the site has relatively good access to services in this location. In terms of the contributions are sought, as I identified earlier, it would be 100% affordable, and then there would be a primary care trust contribution, a contribution towards parks, a bus stop contribution, as well as a local labour agreement, which the applicant has agreed to, and that will be secured through the legal agreement and would secure a fully policy compliant application. Weighing things in the round, the application considered to be acceptable. These are just the semi-detached properties, and these are the 2-bed. And this is the 3-bed. But the proposal is recommended for approval and would secure a decent affordable housing for the authority. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nigel. I will move this item for the purposes of debate. Is that Councillor Wheeler seconding? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this planning application. I was one of those that actually campaigned against that building being closed because it was a specialist dementia care unit, and my opinion at that point in time was that it should never have closed anyway. The fact that that building has actually been stood there since 2019 doing nothing is absolutely appalling, quite frankly, and the amount of money that's been spent on security costs at that building is appalling as well. We've had all sorts of issues with maintenance as well, in terms of actually trying to sort out some of the overgrown vegetation which has been causing problems for neighbouring properties in the area. But finally, at last, something's going to be done. That's why I welcome it. I welcome it as well because actually it's going to provide much needed accommodation for people who need it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you, Chair. Very short. Affordable homes on a brownfield site, what's not to like? It's great, good news. So, hope we can approve it and get it moving as soon as possible.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? No, in that case, if we can move to the votes. The recommendation on page 95 of your reports is to grant planning permission subject to the owners entering into a planning obligation secured for a Section 106 legal agreement with the Borough Council as the local planning authority and the County Council to secure an affordable housing, parks and public open space enhancements, bus stop infrastructure and a healthcare contribution and a local labour agreement, and the conditions listed in your report. Can I see all those in favour, please? Once again, that appears to be unanimous. Thank you very much. That application has been passed. Okay, if we can move on to agenda item 7, which is the solar farm at Arnold Lane, Gedling, and Claire Turton will be introducing this report. Thank you, Claire.
So this application comprises part of the former Gedling Colliery site. The site is surrounded by Gedling Country Park, but does not form part of the park itself. And the site is located outside of the green belt. The site has been in use as a solar farm since the 4th of March 2015. It's the aerial photo showing the solar panels. Planning permission was granted in 2014 for the solar farm, which is on site at present. Condition 16 of the 2014 planning permission stated that the proposed solar farm and associated works hereby permitted shall be dismantled and removed from the site within 6 months at the end of 25 years from it first being brought into use, or in the event of it becoming non-operational, whichever is the sooner, and the site reinstated and returned to its original condition. The reason for this condition was in the interests of visual amenity. This current planning application seeks to vary condition 16 to allow the retention of the solar farm for 40 years rather than 25. The application proposes no physical changes to the solar farm or any of the mitigation measures previously permitted. And these are some photos of the site itself. Members also need to be aware of a legal agreement attached to the 2014 planning permission securing financial biodiversity contributions of £1,000 for a period of 25 years. 25 years being the lifetime of the development under the previous planning permission. The applicant has confirmed that they will continue to pay this financial contribution for years 25 to 40 of the solar farm if planning permission is granted for this current planning application. Turning now to the appraisal of this current planning application, the original planning application for the solar farm fully addressed issues of ecology, landscape trees, amenity, highway safety, design and visual impact, and these were all considered to be acceptable. The solar farm is now in place and has been fully operational since 2015. As such, it is only the retention of the existing solar farm for a 40-year period instead of a 25-year period that is being assessed. The applicant has justified this amendment due to a result of market changes and technological advancements which allow solar farms to be maintained for longer periods. They state the panels themselves are also capable of an electricity generating life much greater than the 25-year period. They state that it has been determined that the solar farm can continue to operate viably beyond the 25-year period, and the project can make effective use of the existing infrastructure and grid connection. The proposed increased period of solar farm operation remains consistent with the original purpose of the condition, which is to ensure the proper decommissioning of the solar farm at the end of its operational life in the interests of visual amenity. The site has been in operation for 10 years without issue, and there would appear to be no reason why the solar farm could cause any additional harm if it had continued to operate for the proposed extended period of time. The solar farm will continue to make a positive contribution to meeting renewable energy targets, including paragraph 161 of the NPPF, which states that the planning system should support the transition to net zero by 2050. As stated previously, that a legal agreement was attached to the 2014 planning permission, securing annual financial biodiversity contributions of £1,000, and this has been used by the Gedling Conservation Trust for works at Netherfield Lagoons. The applicant has confirmed they will continue to pay this for up to 40 years if planning permission is granted. At the request of the planning officer, this is now proposed to be paid in one lump sum, which will remove the need for annual monitoring and may also help the Gedling Conservation Trust with their immediate stated needs. To conclude, for the reasons stated above, it is considered that the proposed amendment to Condition 16 to allow an increased period of solar farm operation remains consistent with the original purpose of the condition. The solar farm will continue to make a positive contribution to meeting renewable energy targets and policies, and as such, it is recommended that planning permission be granted, subject to the signing of the legal agreement and the conditions set out in Section 8 of the committee report.
Thank you, Claire. I will move this item for the purposes of debate. Councillor Pearson is supposed to be seconding. Thank you very much, Councillor. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Thank you. It's good news when something can continue, that's already existing, continue to be used longer than the original predicted lifespan. So I would certainly welcome that. We're all, I hope, in favour of green energy, and this is certainly that. I'm just looking at section 2.6, which was touched on. There may be no leeway in this, but I would sort of draw committee's attention to the fact that £1,000 per annum in 2014 is worth considerably more than £1,000 40 years later. I do wonder whether there is any leeway for negotiating some kind of increase. I'm sure that this business, in their original business plan, did calculate for covering the initial costs of this solar farm within the first 25 years. So in terms of additional costs, obviously upkeep to the business, but they certainly are going to be making additional profit because this solar farm is going to be continuing for 40 years, 35 years longer than expected. Thank you.
So this has been addressed in paragraph 6.9 of the report. It was something that the Gedling Conservation Trust also asked for, but unfortunately the original Section 106 agreement wasn't index linked. So I think really our hands are tied in asking for any more. The other thing to point out is paragraph 58 of the MPPF, which is set out in our paragraph 6.9 of this committee report, states only when planning obligations must be sought, and we're just not convinced that it meets that an additional amount would meet the test set out in paragraph 58 of the MPPF.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Smith.
Just a technical point on the answer just given. Can committee have assurance or reassurance that if there are future applications like this, they will be index linked for the reasons quite rightly set out by Councillor Ellis just now?
Yes, so it is usual practice now for legal agreements to be index linked. I think because it's an older legal agreement, it perhaps just wasn't something that we were doing as usual practice back then.
Thank you. Anybody else like to say anything? No, in that case, if we can move to the recommendation, which is on page 110 of your reports, and the recommendation is to grant planning permission subject to the signing of a legal agreement and the conditions that are set out in your reports. Can I see all those in favour, please? And yet again, that seems to be unanimous. Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Walker. If we could move on to item 8, agenda item 8, which is Eagle Square Front Street, Arnold. And this is Nigel Bryan to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Eagle Square, the market, it's been operating there for a number of years now since the AMP became operational, and it's been granted under 1-year temporary permissions, which have now expired, and the authority is now looking to just relocate the market there into a permanent siting. The policies within the local plan would look to support markets. It would need to be assessed against LPD 59, I think it is, and that would generally encourage the enhancements of, LPD 53, encourage the enhancements of markets, which would also enhance the local town centre in its own right too. So there's been just one letter of concern raised, but at officer level we obviously feel that the market is doing well and will enhance the town. So we're minded to support the permanent relocation to Eagle Square as outlined on page 118. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nigel. I'll move this item for the purposes of debate. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Would anyone like to speak? No, in that case, the recommendation on page 118 is to grant full planning permission subject to the conditions which are listed in your report. Can I see all those in favour, please? Guess what? Once again, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. And that's application is passed. Agenda item 9. Oh, thank you. Councillor Otis is leaving the chamber. Okay, so agenda item 9 is the tree protection order, Bestwood Country Park, Bestwood Lodge Drive, Bestwood. And I believe this is Nigel again. Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the trees are here in this location, adjacent to number 14. I understand that there is an element of damage to them because of squirrels, and that some of the branches may be a little precarious over that boundary with the residential property, and this just shows it a bit more in the context. And the Tree Officer is content that removing the trees that are obviously in close proximity to this boundary would have safety improvements for the occupiers, and also just create some space for the trees behind it to grow and prosper. So, given the advice of the Tree Officer, reminded to support this one, and it's recommended for approval as outlined on page 1, 2, 3 of the committee report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nigel. Once again, I will move this item for the purposes of debate. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Wheeler?
Yeah, I think actually looking at this from an ecological point of view, I think it's important that we understand why this is happening, because obviously squirrels, in the context of grey squirrels we're talking about here, they do quite a lot of damage to trees in terms of stripping bark and stuff like that. So it's around getting that balance right around conservation in terms of the species that inhabit those woodlands and things like that. So I think it's inevitable that obviously grey squirrels are well established in the area, that these problems are going to happen moving forward over the years. So I think from this perspective, certainly from a health and safety perspective, we have little choice in terms of having to do this. Unfortunately, it's very sad. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Smith.
Forgive me if this is in the report and I've missed it, but are we planting replacement trees at all?
No.
Anybody else? No? Okay, in that case, if we could move to the recommendation on page 1, 2, 3 of your reports, which is to grant permission subject to the conditions as outlined in your reports. Can I see all those in favour, please? And that's a full house of unanimous votes for all the applications this evening. We have a couple of reports to be made, which John Krychek will introduce. We're just waiting for Councillor Ellis to rejoin us. Okay, so agenda item 10 is the authority monitoring reports, April 23 to March 24, which John's going to introduce to us.
Thank you, Chairman. The authority monitoring report is prepared annually, and the updated version covers the period of 1st of April 2023 through to the 31st of March 2024. National planning practice guidance states that local planning authorities must publish information at least annually that shows progress with local plan preparation, reports any activity relating to the duty to cooperate, and shows how the implementation of policies in the local plan are progressing. Section 5 of the annual monitoring report monitors the implementation of the local plan against the indicators set out in the policies of the Greater Nottingham Aligned Course Strategy and the Gedling Borough Local Planning Document. The majority of the authority monitoring report therefore contains detailed monitoring information covering a variety of topics which include climate change, flood risk and water management, environmental protection, the green belt, natural environment, homes design, historic environment, retail and community facilities, transport, infrastructure and developer contributions, and it's recommended that the committee notes the Gedling Borough Council Annual Monitoring Report as provided within the agenda on pages 129 through to 215. And I'd also just like to draw members' attention to the level of detail and the robustness of the work that the planning policy team have done in respect of this report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, John. Yeah, and I'd like to echo the thanks to the Planning Department for the extensive work they've done on this this report. Do we have any comments or questions? No, in that case, oh, sorry, Councillor Paling.
I just want to compliment you on the amazing amount of detail that has been collated here and presented to us. It's really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Okay, the recommendation is to note the report. Can I see all those in favour, please? Okay, and that is unanimous. Thank you very much. That is duly noted. And move on to agenda item 11, which is, sorry, apologies, just getting to the right page on my report. Again, this will be John to introduce it, and it is the five-year housing land supply assessment 2024. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chairman. So the report sets out the latest five-year housing land supply position for the Council as of the 31st of March 2024. National planning policy does require that local authorities update their five-year housing land supply assessments on an annual basis. So the five-year period for assessment is from the 1st of April 24 through to the 31st of March 2029. For clarity, this is an assessment against the housing requirement of the government using the standard methodology, as the Aligned Core strategy is now more than 5 years old. The assessment shows that the supply against the housing target as calculated using the standard methodology, we can demonstrate a five-year housing land supply plus a 5% buffer of 6.19 years. This is a slight decrease from the previous 2023 assessment figure of 6.76 years. The main reason for this is due to the strong progress in delivery of sites and completions, which have been allocated within the Aligned Core strategy and the local planning document, which has resulted in fewer dwellings being left to build out across the five-year period. It is recommended that the committee notes the Gedling Borough five-year housing land supply assessment as set out within the agenda on pages 217 to 256. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, John. And once again, I'd like to express our thanks for the comprehensive report that's been prepared and the tremendous amount of work that's gone into it. So thank you very much. Would anyone like to comment or ask any questions? Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. If you look at page 227, item 35, it says housing supply for 5 years, and then I don't know whether it's 2,992 or 2,993. There's 5 digits there. There should be 4. So it's just a clarification, really. Oh, it might be something completely different. I'm hoping it's not supposed to be 2,992,000.
I think there's an extra 9 in there, unfortunately.
There's an extra 9. So should it be 2,923?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, once again, the recommendation is to note the report. So can I see all those in favour? And again, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, item 12 on the agenda is future planning applications. Any questions or observations? No. Councillor, agenda item 13 is the delegation panel action sheets. Any comments or questions? No. Okay, I've not been notified of any other items of urgent business, so I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending and contributing.